Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Smoko Podcast. My name is Alexis Armstrong, your host. Nice to meet you. The Smoko Podcast is the place to celebrate and highlight women, trans women, and non binary people working within STEM and trade occupations. So please tune in, take a break, and join us. We are on Smoko. And today it's an honor to be joined by Dr. Kay Ramsey, who is the CEO of Tradeswomen Inc., which is a nonprofit run out of the Bay Area. It has been around for 44 years. We're going to talk a lot about the organization and its mission and goals. But we're also going to talk about Dr. Kay's background because she has over 20 years of experience within the DEI and the public policy space. She has a master's in clinical psychology, an MBA, and a doctorate in public policy and nonprofit leadership. So it is an honor to have her as a guest on the show today. And I can't wait to have this conversation. So, Dr. Kay, thank you so much for coming on Smoko.
Well, thank you so much, Alexis. I'm really excited. This is my first podcast as the new CEO of Tradeswomen Inc. and affectionately known as TWI. So I'm really excited to just have a conversation with you today.
Thank you. Honestly, it's an honor to have you on. If this is your first podcast as CEO of TWI, and maybe if that's where we can start, because
Yeah.
I wanted to acknowledge you have 20 years of experience and work in equity, social justice, mental health, diversity. I was wondering how you were first introduced to TWI or Tradeswomen Inc. and how is that experience of transitioning into working with women in skilled trades, if this maybe is a new sector for you.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. And it's definitely a new sector. However, again, 20 plus years just working in nonprofit. And like you said, the focus is DEI, workforce development, and making sure that there is a level of equality for those that are unrepresented. And so those things are really near and dear and close to my heart. And so with that, coming over to Tradeswomen Inc., in essence, was an easy transition. However, understanding and learning this new environment, learning the industry and building rapport and getting to know just so many different people, so many different entities, terms, acronyms, all the above is still, a work in progress. But myself and my wonderful team, like we're all excited to be able to be in this place and continue the 44 years that TWI is built on, but also take it to another level within the 21st century.
Oh my goodness, that makes me so excited. Oh, that's awesome. Anything, Dr. K, on top of mind that has been the most surprising of this space because it has been so new and like you said, so many complexities of new acronym, new people, new everything.
Is you know what it is just really seeing the passion within this industry, the passion that women have as tradeswomen, the sisterhood, that we have been able to observe and going to conferences and meeting different people because it's, this the construction and the trades and skilled labor industry. It's big and it's small at the same time. And I say it's small because everybody that doesn't work in this field doesn't really know what's going on and how women specifically are affected when they step foot on the site or when they go and get trained at an apprenticeship center.
That's a fantastic answer. And yeah, agreed. It is definitely like a big industry. It's a huge industry, but as women in trades and in building and in construction only represent 3 to 4%, it is also very small. And I feel like you do end up kind of having a different relationship with other women who are within this space or these industries just because it's so specific to site.
Yeah, it really is. And as I'm, say walking down the street with my dog and I'm looking at, new builds being erected and I'm trying to see like, are there women, on this side or I'm just, in everyday activity and you go to the movies and you see a young lady behind the counter and I'm like, I wonder if she would be a good tradeswoman. Like, should I give her my card or should I pitch her and say, like, what are you doing or what are your goals? Why don't you come over to this side? So in that regard, I'm thinking of things that I've never thought of or seen the world in a different way. And when we meet different, women that are retired from the trades or still working and that they have honor when they are driving home and they can say like, oh, I built that or we put in those elevators and we painted there. So that part, like, that's really amazing. And like I said, it's a brand new lens, although working in nonprofit for so long, that I didn't have coming in this industry for the past few months now.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. Dr. Kim, for those unaware, because we're going to talk about
Yeah.
Tradeswomen Inc. and TWI, and we're going to kind of dive into it a little bit more. But for those
Mhm.
unaware, could you maybe describe the overall organization, your guys' mission, your goals of TWI?
Yeah, so like you mentioned, Tradeswomen Inc. has been around for 44 years doing outreach and recruitment to get women into the trades. And so TWI has been that bridge to unions, to apprenticeship and pre apprenticeship centers for them to understand the trades, to choose which type of trade that they want to get into. And then those same women are able to graduate and become a bricklayer or,
Hmm.
like go into all these different types of trades by going through the apprenticeship. And so we provide that education and that first kind of communication and mentorship and interaction to say like, hey, you're interested, you saw our information, you saw our Instagram post,
Hmm.
come over here, come to our workshop, which is on our virtual workshop, which is on a monthly basis, and learn more. And so once they say, yes, we love this workshop, we're really interested, I want to be a carpenter, my dad's a
Yeah.
carpenter, my uncle's a carpenter, or whatever reason that they may have, we are that first line of contact. And then we provide, like I said, that mentorship
Hmm.
to make sure that they are put in the right apprenticeship or pre-apprenticeship program. And then from there, it's up to them, it's up to that other nonprofit organization to kind of take them under their wings and say like, okay, this is good, your 6 weeks or 8 weeks classes begin now. And then
Hmm.
to hear the stories when that they have finished, their training, and now they're already working and making that, substantial hourly wage is the success story for us. And so that part is really, really heartwarming because you may find someone that was working, in a fast food restaurant or, whatever the case, and now working in the trades has changed their life. They're able to, if they do have a family, to be able to take care of their family now, if they have children. And so then also to have a level of pension and retirement for them, in the long run, and buying their first home. And so these are stories that we've heard time and time again where going into the trades has been life changing. And so to be a part of that story, that first
Hmm.
handshake, if you will, in an introduction, it's really amazing.
Oh, that's so beautiful. And I love what you guys do because I think you perfectly captured it of being like going to the movies and trying to recruit somebody to be like, okay, come to the trades. I mean, like, I think
Yeah,
that comes through.
absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. Come on in. Like
Mhm.
that's on your network. Like, and that's on your
Yeah,
guys's website. You can see that in spades that you guys are there for like
yeah.
first early development of getting people and getting women into the trades. And
Hmm.
something that you touched on, I think, is also apparent throughout all of your platforms is this idea of financial security through a
Yeah.
career with the trades. And I think that's really beautiful to explain that aspect to young women to be like, you can come
Hmm.
here and have a unionized job and have a pension and have
Right.
equal pay. And this is one of the only
Hmm.
industries where you can have equal pay. And I think that is a fantastic thing that you guys do.
Yeah. No, I think that's really important. I feel like that's the financial piece is definitely the carrot, but then beyond that,
Hmm.
also understanding like what goes on the site, what type of support, does a woman need. There's so many different laws that are in place to make sure that a woman will be safe and protected when they are on site. And so we are really focused on that piece, especially as we enter into this new year for 2024,
Hmm.
the type of grants that we're seeking to make sure that we can support them on the retention side. So it's not just about getting that job as a tradeswoman, but it's like, well, how do we support them when the day is hard and when someone doesn't want to train them properly, or if there's inadequate childcare while they're getting training. And so there's so many just great grants that are out there. One of them is called the Erica Grant that we also received, and a lot of our partners received to help with childcare because that was an ongoing issue.
Hmm.
A woman is really excited to become a tradeswoman and start training, but then those classes are, they may start at 6 in the morning or 7 a.m. And so, like, to find a babysitter for that amount of time is like, how do you do that? Like, you have to be able to pick and choose. And so, with this new Erica Grant, a lot of women are able to fulfill their training expectations, which is great.
That's fantastic. And maybe Dr. K, if we could maybe dive into that a little bit more, because the next question
Yeah.
was really why where you guys are going as an organization and like what is your future
Hmm.
changes. And it sounds like
Yeah.
retention is a big one, but it also sounds like
Yes.
maybe grants are another one. Is that an individual grant that a woman through your organization can apply for to get childcare and to get maybe mat leave or anything around that like structural change that they need for their job? Is that kind of the future of Tradeswomen Inc?
I would say it is the future. So our partners and other organizations that
Mm,
have the MC3, which is the multi-core curriculum, the pre-apprenticeship programs, a lot of them they have that funding, the childcare funding. TWI doesn't necessarily have that. Our funding right now is really focused on outreach, recruitment, and marketing to get women into the trades.
mhm.
And so, however, as we look to the future, we are focused on writing grants and submitting grants. We submitted two earlier this week, so
Which is
we're very
amazing.
exhausted with those grants. Thank you. They're focused on making sure that we also have childcare funding to be able to support these women. And in addition to just looking ahead in our strategic plan, is focused on that level of retention. TWI has been doing outreach and recruitment, which is a service. However, with me coming along, my background is also program development. And
Mm,
so I really want to be able to have holistic offerings, which include supportive services, wellness, mental health, in addition to that, financial literacy. And so there's an array of different program offerings that we're writing for and seeking grant funding so we can have not just a service, but those programs to help the whole woman and not
mhm.
just find them a job. Because again, it's about retaining them. And after they have a long day's work, who are they able to talk to about what has been going on? So we just wrapped up our first virtual support group, which went really well. And we had women from like 18 years old to 50 plus all in that same group, just talking about their level of experiences. And so that's what it's for, and that's what we want to be able to move toward as well, helping the whole woman and beyond the job, but just like retaining them and making sure that they're okay and have someone to talk to.
Ah, that's so beautiful. I love that push to like a holistic view of not just getting them maybe into the
Hmm.
door and recruiting them, but actually having that
Yeah.
structural support because I think that's so important.
Hmm.
And it's something that, unfortunately, because we are a minority within these industries, it's not something that's
Yeah.
usually readily available at a workplace. It's kind of has to be through an
Hmm.
NGO or through a community or through some sort of
Yeah.
group external to your professional environment or to maybe
Hmm.
the culture on site. But it's so important when we think of retention, Dr. K, is it primarily a structural problem of childcare and maternal, or is it a problem of culture and not enough community? Is a little bit of both, which is why you're going for both of those things? Where is kind of our
Yeah.
big issue with retention, if you could boil it down to one thing or one or two things?
The one is the child care, and I'm not saying that this new funding is going to fix it,
No.
entirely, but that was a big one. And so then the other one is retention. So if you have women that are excited and now they are in their apprenticeship, however, if there is levels of microaggression, stereotypes, and racism, and anything, in the like of just levels of inequality, then why would someone want to stay?
Yeah.
Like they are already bombarded with so much just as a woman. And so being the only woman now on the site and you're not treated fairly, like that's really hurtful and
Mhm.
disappointing after you've done all of this training, you've done all this work, you're excited, your family's
Yeah.
excited, and you're ready to go. And then now people are not speaking to you, they're not respecting you, and they're not training you, because that is the purpose of your apprenticeship, is to
Mhm.
be able to get trained in your trade. And so that's the piece that not only, as women, like we're aware of and we're educated on it, but it's not just women that need to be in the room. The men and the construction companies and the unions and everyone else also needs to be in the room. And they have been stepping up, but there's still a long way to go, because that percentage, that 3 to 4%,
Mhm.
sometimes 2%, also it has been the same and it's ongoing. And so to be able to change that, everybody needs to be in the room at the women's conference, if you will.
I love that answer. Thank you for that, Dr. Kip, because I think that that brings up the topic of stakeholders. And I think the fact that union reps and
Mhm.
also universities, vocational schools, construction
Yeah.
companies, it's far bigger than just women on site. And it has to be more people in the conversation because I think that there's more power in different
Yeah.
places within this industry that's not necessarily within our corner. I wish it was, but I think you're right. That stat of 3 to 4%, it's been static for 25 years
Hmm.
roughly, right? So it's a big problem of trying to move it in the right direction. And personally, I think a lot of it comes from this idea of barriers to entry or
Yeah.
misconceptions about being a
Hmm.
woman in trades. And I was wondering if we could speak to that a little bit. If there's any misconceptions or biases which you think that are acting as a barrier to entry when it might not actually be the case. It might just be a true bias or a true misconception. Anything there?
I think about and asking. I have a best friend that works, as in the trades and is a carpenter for almost 20 years now. And I told him about the position, and I was really surprised by his reaction. And he was kind of saying that, well, when women get on the site, they feel like we're supposed to do everything for them. And I was like, what? I couldn't believe
Mm,
he said that, because
yeah.
I know women that are like, I don't need you to help or do anything. And so he was saying that they don't understand or know the soft skills. And so, but I'm like, well, that's the purpose of the pre apprenticeships.
Hmm.
They teach them those soft skills and go far beyond that as well. And so, I didn't get into and start doing research. And I'm like, well, who was this and what happened? And give me some more information. But I wanted to with all my heart. But I was just like, I was really shocked. And so I believe it is making sure that, a woman goes in with those soft skills. For us, as we continue to, at TWI, as we continue to revitalize our own training workshops, we want to make sure that they are aware of everything that can happen and what can they expect, and just that barrier to entry, because any position can be challenging as
Hmm.
you're growing into it, or being the only, if it's a a level of diversity or gender or whatever the case. But sometimes people are not upfront with that information, and so when they're not upfront, I think that's where that percentage really remains the same, because maybe they didn't get enough information on, okay, this is going to be hard, you are going to be the only person, like, because that would scare people
Hmm.
away, right? And
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
there has to be that balance for us to even shift that percentage to make sure that continues to be increased. So it's tough, but I think it is just retention building, for the women, and just being upfront, because the women that remain, they stay and they retire out,
Hmm.
and so they are tough, strong, powerful women that have persevered through so many different challenges. And so those are the women that we are building up and creating.
Hmm. That I always do think of that of being like, okay, there is only maybe 3 or 4%, but the 4% that's within this
Mhm.
field are so incredibly fierce. It's not even funny. Like these are very,
Yeah.
very
Yeah.
powerful, strong women. But I like that shift of
Mhm.
TWI and really supporting transparency because I think that's really what it's all about
Yeah.
of having a
Mhm.
realistic conversation to be like, okay, well, it might be difficult. This is kind of what it's going to look like. You might be on your own, potentially professionally at your site, which is scary and
Yeah.
hard, but we're here for you. And we're going to have all of these structures and mentorship programs and training programs in place to make sure
Mhm.
that you have a realistic viewpoint of maybe what that's going to be. And then we can help you through it. We can help change that viewpoint and make it more realistic of true culture. So it doesn't look completely just skewed and it looks one way and we can bring it back
Yeah.
to maybe a true representation. Dr. K, when we speak to leadership and visibility, I know that's something that's important to you. I was wondering if you
Mhm.
could speak to the importance of those two things in terms of changing culture, because we've talked a lot about like how culture on site can be difficult, but how do we actually change that, and how do we move from like, okay, this is what you're going to expect to hopefully this is where we're going to go? Could you speak
Mhm.
to the importance of leadership and visibility in terms of those two things?
Yeah, I think it's understanding also, the companies that the women are working for, the construction companies. And so one of our partners is Turner Construction, and they have like an amazing like DEI programs, and they're doing so many just phenomenal things. You can, just check out their website and just visually see what's going on. I went to a Friendsgiving this past year and we did a roundtable of introductions, and I met someone. She was like, "Oh, I'm from Turner Construction."
Mm,
She broke down like my stereotype, like, "Oh, this is what a woman should look like if they are, working in the trades." And so I think right then and there, it's that level of transparency because she
mm,
was, just an engineer and open to sharing, just some of the information about herself and her story. So again, being able to talk about it, to speak freely. And I'm really glad that at TWI we have that level of the marketing grant,
mhm,
from the Erica funding, because we want to change how the visibility, we want to change how people see it. We have goals to create a Netflix docu-series so
yeah.
people can be aware of what happens, but also be excited and want to support, and seeking ambassadors to help kind of move that needle and say like, oh, this is another job. And in addition to that, there's invisibility. There's more and more career fairs that are going on in high schools, and
Mm,
so there's a different avenue for young people to go in. It's not just higher education. It's not just going into law enforcement. This is a whole nother area and industry that we really don't hear about, as young
mhm,
folks, unless someone in our family is working in that field. And so when I think about leadership, it's being the leader of that career counselor at the high school and saying like, hey, this is another avenue. I think you would be really good at this, and
mhm,
being knowledgeable, have a knowledge base about it. And within the construction companies saying like, oh, we do have a lot of women here. We want to continue to recruit women and they matter. What type of services do they need? And
mhm,
so not just hiring the women, but saying like, we want to make sure that we have employee resource groups. And so to make sure that they have a place to talk, a place to speak. And so TWI also wants to go into that realm where we partner with construction companies and provide DEI services as well. So a lot of different things going on.
oh my, well, yeah, I honestly, you are busy. Like that is a lot of different avenues to go with DWI.
It is.
But I love that future of it. And I love that tie in with construction organizations and with companies of
Yeah,
bringing in your DEI and bringing in your workshops and all of your training that you already do for your community and bringing it also into
yeah.
the private space. I think that's very powerful. I think what you touched on with visibility, one, I would love to see that Netflix documentary. I will definitely be
Yeah,
watching it.
right?
But I love that you also brought up the point of visibility of changing maybe the idea of what that looks like, what a woman in trades looks like, but also the idea of bringing joy to it. Because I think sometimes these
Yeah.
conversations can be, and I think rightfully they should be realistic. And I think they shouldn't try to
Mhm.
sugarcoat or not talk about the challenges and talk about what actually can happen on site. But I think it is extremely
Yeah.
powerful to also talk about the positives and talk about the joy and
Mhm.
the power that comes with these positions and
Yeah.
the fulfillment it can happen. I think if you talk to any tradeswomen and they are so proud of mastery of skill and so proud
Mhm.
of showcasing their skill. And I think that's a really beautiful point about visibility. I think that does change culture. It really does.
It really does. And, hearing why some women choose to do the trades, they say not only the money, which is great,
Yeah.
right?
Get
But
it?
yeah, but then they also say like they don't want to work a 9 to 5. They don't want to be behind a desk. That is not for everybody.
Mhm,
Like I work the typical 9 to 5, but I'm looking out the window overseeing everything, the city. And so like that, I need that at least. If
mhm,
I can't be outside, I need to look at it. And so, those women, they want to be outside. And then they also have the opportunity to travel all around the world, and then it's that the value proposition of wow, like at the end of the day or at the end of a site completion, like I did that,
mhm,
I created that, or my team did that. And so that part, you're not going to get that in any other industry, to be able to take your family and say like, oh yeah, I built
mhm.
that. I built that building. The elevator that we're in, like I put those in, with my team, with my hands, or and then those same women go back, buy their house and rebuild their house, or do add-ons, or they do all these amazing, just beautiful things. And it's that that level of camaraderie, which is also really amazing. Like I said, it's the sisterhood
Hmm.
that is not just a Northern California thing, it's really global. It's really amazing. And, when I started, we kicked off our social media. We were already on Facebook, but we have Instagram, and that's how you and I met.
Yeah.
But then we're meeting so many other programs and similar models that we have in New Zealand. We have partners or
Hmm.
in New York and so in Canada. And so like it's really awesome just to see what everybody is doing to support the trades in all the different organizations. So it's awesome.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with that. Like, I think that's something that's really throughout this culture and throughout all of these women and their personalities. I feel like everyone is very much a problem solver and very much like, okay, this is the problem. Let's try to work together. But it's really cool that everyone has started
Yeah.
from their own little niche and been like, okay, let's try to tackle something that's way
Hmm.
too big for us. But to see 100 people or 200 organizations start forming and
Yeah.
tackle the same problem and talk about having the same
Hmm.
conversations and moving forward in the right direction, it does feel very powerful. And it feels like we will eventually make huge leaps and strides towards positive change. And so it's beautiful to
Yeah.
see. But I was wondering if we could
It's,
actually maybe speak to that because your background is so heavily based in policy and in equity. And I was wondering
mhm.
if we could speak to maybe, in your opinion, what structures or practices you think are necessary to increase representation and to make those big, powerful changes in the right direction. We're all kind of trying it from our little corners of the internet or our little corners of the world.
Yeah.
But in your point of view, like if we look at it in structures or practices, what do you think is
Mhm.
necessary?
Yeah, no, that's a really good question. And so when I talked about like the holistic program offerings, another piece of that, it's going to be a leadership institute.
Mm,
And so within that, they will learn the best communication practices. Like how do they go to their foreman or whoever is, their boss or, the bosses, their construction manager, the developer, like how do they have conversations with them? How do they know how to position themselves to get promoted? And
mm,
so that's really huge in retention because sometimes you may leave an employer, whatever type of position you're doing, because you feel like you can no longer grow anymore. And so we want
mm,
to make sure that women can grow from, that laborer, that journey woman, and that foreman to be able to continue to even inspire them to have their own female led, construction
mhm,
companies. And so that's what we want to inspire them to continue to do with our up and coming leadership institute as we are applying for grants to seek funding to be able to create it. I think that's what it is, to make sure that they remain inspired. And if they want to go that route, everybody doesn't want to
mhm,
own their construction company, right? Or some people may want to retire from being in the field and go within more of the industry and in the business sector. So we want to make sure that they have the tools to still remain in the industry, but make sure that they have those leadership skills as well. So that's really, really important to me, to make sure that we can inspire and motivate women in this industry and keep them in the industry so
mhm.
we can move those numbers up.
I love it. I love that retention part of it and that leadership. Like, yeah, you guys are busy, but also that's incredible. Like,
Yeah,
what an
yeah,
amazing future kind of point of TWI and to have that leadership aspect. And I think this industry, what's really cool about it is it's so dynamic. And I feel like it is
yeah.
really a make your own adventure. Every single woman can decide where she wants to go with this. If she wants to go into a senior leadership position, if she wants to pivot into
Hmm.
business, to making her own firm, into maybe teaching or vocational school.
Yeah.
And I love that you're providing that for them, but also doing it
Hmm.
in a way that keeps them within the industry and doesn't
Yeah.
have a drop of retention and a drop of maybe
Hmm.
institutional knowledge, and we can eventually change culture because of that. I think that's a fantastic thing.
Yeah.
In terms of TWI, you guys have been around for 44 years. I mean, it's
Yeah.
changed since its beginning, and
Hmm.
the future changes sound absolutely incredible. And I can't wait to see that next generation of TWI. But I was wondering if we could speak to maybe the challenges and any challenges as an organization or institution that you have had in increasing representation. And then a two-part question is
Mhm.
with those challenges as a community, how can we help you? If we would like to help
Mhm.
TWI, what can we do and what do you need?
Yeah, no, I think that's great. And so I'll start with the challenges. I think that the challenges are for me not having that experience in working in the trades. I'm
Mm,
not a former tradeswoman, and so being an outsider. So people have to get to know me. They have to get to know my wonderful team as
mm,
well. Not all of us are from the trades, but I don't think that makes us feel like that we are not capable of
mhm,
doing amazing work. You know what I mean? So I think that part is very much important because we're all here to make sure that we are able to increase the number of women that are going into the trades. That's everybody's focus.
mm,
And so we can do it, and with the knowledge of just myself alone, 20 plus years, plus my staff that also have years in workforce development and marketing and administration and recruitment and
mhm.
outreach. And so, like, we have an amazing team that can do this work with or without being a laborer, or
Mhm,
having a skilled trade, like, because I know strategic planning, I know nonprofits. And so that's the part that's the challenge, is just building that rapport. And there are so many unions, there's so many different construction companies and
mhm,
industries. And so since I've started, we've completely flipped our entire staff, including myself. And so that's the part that, just really is the challenge. And so the more support that we have, if it's a social media person, if they are able to share, like, comment, if
mm.
you will, anything that we're doing, our events, and to get it out there. I think that's the biggest thing, and just communicate with us if they have, different events going on. Like, we do the same thing, share, like, comment, just so
Mhm.
everybody can be represented. There's enough room out here for all of us to be able to support. I don't look at it as competition.
No.
Like, we're in one area. We started in Northern California, but we're also branching to Southern California as well. And so we want to continue to be able to build. We spoke to a potential partner in Chicago at a high
Amazing.
school. And so I'm like, hey, why not?
Yeah.
Like, why not continue to share the knowledge? Why not continue to expand? So right now, it's really support and giving us grace. I only started in June of this year. The expectations of we should be here or we should know this. I'm like, I only started, which means my team started a month, 2 months, 3 months after I did. And so it's support and grace and patience. And if they know a construction company, or if they know another organization that we should partner with, then, share that information.
Okay, awesome. Well, we can do that. I mean, I feel like that's really easy. I honestly, that
Yeah.
Dr. K, like you could have told me you started 3 years ago, and I would have been like, "Yep, understood." Like you're doing amazing. I can't believe it. Like that is, whew, like that is a huge amount of learning in a very short period of time, and definitely
Yes.
grace is an easy thing to give like that. I think we
Mhm.
can give that in spades, and we'll definitely like I'll make sure to do my part of spreading your guys's message and your guys's organization as wide as I
Yeah.
can. And I think that's a really easy thing to do is to support you guys with it. I did want to touch on one thing is I know you
Sure.
were like, it might be a little bit different if you guys aren't from a trade perspective or you're not a skilled trades. I'm
Mhm.
not skilled trades either. I mean, my sister
Mhm.
is, but I have a science background. But I think it's so
Okay.
powerful that your background is in public policy because I feel like that's what's needed within this
Yeah.
space. And that's what's needed within an organization that's whole mission is to increase representation. I think we need policy people. And I think there is
Yeah.
no competition when we're talking about representation. I mean, I think we're all trying to
Mhm.
tackle the same problem.
Yeah, and it's workforce development. Like, my
Hmm.
years are spent in workforce development and getting women that need a second chance. So that's, in the realm of social justice. My personal background, I'm a former foster youth, and so going to those, young people that are having emancipated out of the system, at risk youth, in their what 18 and up. And so, like, that's near and dear close to my heart. And so those people need jobs. And
Yeah.
so, like, if this is the industry that they can be successful and have that level of training and structure, like they need that. And so to be able to motivate and inspire them into this new realm of understanding in a new realm in a different industry, I think that's a plus. You know what I mean? And so I understand the mental health as a former therapist as well.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I get it, and so it's just a different industry, a different job. But I've been working with
Hmm.
people for 25 years now, and so that's the piece that doesn't change. You know, it's
Hmm.
still helping people and making sure that they can be motivated and successful in whatever type of job that they choose. Now, this job just so happens to be in skilled
Yeah.
laborers.
No, I think you're the perfect person for the job and the perfect background. And again, you could have told me that you've been here for 3 years, 5 years. I would have believed it. Like, I think grace and support is very, very easy to do as a community. That's easy money.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think that this space is new for you at all. And again, I really do
Mhm.
think that you're the perfect person for this role in this industry with your background in policy and DEI work and also as a therapist. But I know
Yeah.
that this skilled labor is maybe new. But I was wondering if we could speak to what would be your hopes or like what's on your guys' agenda as a team of being like, what is my future hopes and goals for this space? If everything goes right, where do you hope our future looks like in skilled labor and women in trades?
I hope to see celebrities
Mhm.
talking about it. You know, I hope to see billboards, you know, with women on there in their construction uniforms and in their what is it, Cartwright
Yeah.
overalls, their Red Wing boots on. Like, I hope to be able to see that so people can ask questions and say, like, oh, like, what is that? You know,
Mm,
what are they doing, or what is this about? You know, I hope to see that level of visibility, not just within the industry but outside of the industry, because some of us are familiar with HGTV, where
mhm,
some of them are doing carpentry or they're doing interior design, but I feel like that's, you know, kind of like how far it goes.
mm,
But to see, you know, a series or something on HGTV about, like, let's follow of some women that start with a workshop and trying to understand the apprenticeship and follow them in their journey and see what that looks like, you know,
mhm,
for women. And so it's the visibility. And I think once we have that level of visibility in marketing, that people will understand, like, oh, this is a new opportunity, this is a different job that I can have. They look really cool in their uniform, like, I want to look like that. Whatever is the carrot for a particular person, that level of internal or external motivation, like I said, to be able to brand it and make it visible, and hear the stories, the touching stories of so many different women that are in the
mhm,
trades. So that would be the big thing. And then just for us and my team to continue to have the knowledge base and understanding, you know, just more and more about the trades, to develop new and different partners under my leadership. TWI has continually had a lot of the same partners, but there's so
mhm.
many different people. Just like I said, with Instagram, we've met so many different people.
Yeah.
And so I think that part is beautiful. So I want to bring in different people and work on new grants together, go to different types of communities and see what they're doing. You know, I want to go to New Zealand and see what those trades women
Yeah.
are.
Yeah.
And so I think as women, and we're Renaissance women, right? Like, we have
Hmm.
a background in so many different things, and marketing and advertising and branding, visibility, that's near and dear to my heart too. So I'm
Yeah.
like, I just want people to know more so they can give, so they can support, and so young folks can be inspired to go into the trades and move that needle. I want to see that percentage go up. It's been low, far too
Oh my goodness, I couldn't agree more with that answer. I feel like you touched on so many things that are
low.
also near and dear to my heart. One, I love your use of Renaissance women. I haven't heard that term, but I think it perfectly encapsulates this industry and these women. I
Yeah.
It's a perfect term, but I love that idea of normalizing these women past HGTV and maybe following an
Hmm.
iron worker. What does it look like when she wakes up
Yeah.
and she goes to work and she scales a building? It's a pretty incredible
Hmm.
story, and I know that's what
Right.
my goal at Smoko is to try to increase storytelling and try to get true
Hmm.
storytelling of the women within the field and boots on the ground, and I think
Yeah.
I couldn't agree more with that kind of future goal and hope. And I
Mhm.
I can't wait to see the future of TWI, and I can't wait to see the next generation of it. And maybe to end, what's something that brings you hope and joy for maybe the next generation of women in the building trades?
You know what? I feel like younger women, they're becoming more courageous and
Mm.
more powerful every day. And so they're out there, on the front lines and they're protesting or they're telling their teachers,
Mhm.
like, no, I'm not going to do this. So and for the young folks that went through 2020 and COVID, like that just changed education entirely. And it also changed people that not necessarily were in school, but they were in the workforce, and they said, you know what, I'm not going to do this for 15 more years. I'm going to go into the trades, because we have women that are 40 plus years old saying, like, you know what, I'm going to be a tradeswoman.
Mhm. I love it.
And I think, yeah, so it's like when people are able to shift their mindset to say, like, you know what, I'm going to do this, I'm going to pass this test, I'm going to pass this exam, and really change the future, that gives me hope. And
Mm.
hearing more and more about what women have done to really shape our future is so important. That's why I really think that that visibility is huge. And so that is my hope for people to take that leap of faith
Mm.
and try it and just and learn more, and for us to be able to have ambassadors that can speak on behalf of women in the
Mhm.
trades, do wherever they are, and to be able to shine a light on it, because we can only do so much as a nonprofit, but with a celebrity platform they can really shine a light. In our research, we did learn that Whoopi Goldberg was a bricklayer before she
Oh,
became a famous actor. Yeah,
I didn't
and
know
so
that.
she did that there, but she also laid bricks. And so, it's like in doing research, and that's because we did our social media post and we learned
Mm.
about those things. And so, or the woman that was behind the Brooklyn Bridge, and so I'm like, what? I had no clue. And so, just learning about all these things that, just like we have done as a culture
Mm.
and shining a light on it, that's my continued hope.
Ah, that's an amazing. I didn't know that. I'm gonna deep dive Whoopi Goldberg's Wikipedia page as soon as we finish this interview. I had no idea. That's really, really cool. And yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think the next generation gives me so much hope. I love that
Yeah.
fearlessness, and I love that rebellious spirit, and just knowing themselves and really standing their ground and standing for themselves. I think it's just really powerful to see. And I think it does change maybe the older generation to be like, okay, well, if they can do it, if my daughter can do it, well, then maybe I can
Yeah.
do it too, right?
Hmm.
Mm.
Exactly. So that's the exciting part. And, we, also met a young lady who's unfortunately her husband had passed away, and he was working in the trades, but the work that he was doing inspired her to
Oh,
go to school, to go into the apprenticeship, to become a tradeswoman. And so, like, the inspiration just comes from so many different arenas, and so, like I said, we just want to be able to shine a light on those, so in those women, and tell and be able to tell their stories on just a higher platform.
I love it. Oh, I think that's fantastic. And I can't wait to kind of see the next generation of TWI. I can't wait to support y'all and just to see where you guys go. And Dr. K, thank you so much for coming on the show. It was so nice to meet you. Yeah, I can't wait to see this next generation. And yeah, absolutely amazing conversation. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you, Alexis, for having me. It's been really amazing, and I continue to support you as you continue to support us.
Oh, thank you. That's very kind. Well, if anyone is out there listening, thank you very much for doing so. We will see you next week with another guest next Wednesday. Thank you. Thank you. This has been the Smoko Podcast. Bye bye for now.
Bye.